Most people think silence is empty. They think it's the absence of power. But Carl Jung knew the truth. Silence is the beginning of a shift so powerful, so invisible, that few ever recognize it, until everything around them starts to fall apart. You don't conquer the world by arguing louder. You don't win by explaining yourself over and over. You rise when you stop feeding the noise, because silence isn't nothingness. It's a force, and once you master it, the world that once gripped you begins to lose its hold. Noise is their weapon. Silence is yours from the moment we are born. The world trains us to respond. React fast, stay busy, defend yourself, chase approval. Noise becomes survival. But Jung saw that every time you react to noise, you leak your energy into systems that don't serve you. He realized, the world doesn't feed on your strength. It feeds on your attention. Silence starves it. When you stop giving your energy to meaningless conversations, mindless entertainment, constant validation, you begin to disappear from the surface. But something deeper inside you begins to awaken. The die shift. No one sees at first, no one notices. You're just quieter, a little less available, a little less eager to please. But deep beneath the surface, a shift has begun. The cords that tied you to false obligations begin to loosen. The identity you thought you had to maintain starts to crack. You're not withdrawing because you're weak. You're withdrawing because you're strong enough to stop pretending. Jung believed that this unseen withdrawal is one of the most dangerous acts in a world built on reaction. Because when you stop playing your role, people can no longer control you. They don't know why you seem different. They just feel it. And often, their fear speaks louder than their understanding. The beginning of true power silence is not passive. It's not cowardice. It's the first true act of ownership over your own energy. It's the quiet rebellion against a world that profits from your distraction. The less you respond, the less you explain, the less you justify. The more you reclaim the parts of yourself the world tried to steal, and it all starts with one terrifying, beautiful decision: to stop playing the game. When you choose silence, you don't just change yourself, you change the very fabric of reality around you. In the next section, we'll explore how silence doesn't just protect you. It transforms you into a force that cannot be ignored. At first, silence feels like absence. But then, something unexpected happens. The silence you created to protect yourself begins to radiate outward. It becomes magnetic. Without chasing, without explaining, without lifting a finger, you begin to draw the right things toward you and push the wrong things away. Carl Jung knew, when you withdraw from noise, you don't shrink your world. You purify it. The inverted law of energy. Most people believe influence is about action. Louder voice, stronger argument, bigger presence. But Jung understood that true influence operates by an inverted law. The less you force, the more gravity you create. When you stop rushing to be understood, when you no longer beg to be seen, when you stop responding to every trigger, you become an anomaly, and in a world obsessed with noise, an anomaly is unforgettable. Why people are drawn to silence. It's not just about being quiet. It's about being anchored. Most people are unsettled inside, chaotic, desperate for validation, always reaching for something outside themselves. When you become silent, truly silent, you expose their noise without even speaking. They don't know why they feel it. They just know that around you, their masks feel heavier, their anxieties louder. Your silence becomes a mirror, and mirrors have power. Some will be drawn to you, seeking the peace they can't find in themselves. Others will be repelled, afraid to face what your presence reflects back at them. Both reactions are proof. Your silence has become an energetic force they cannot ignore. You become the still point in a spinning world. In Jung's writings, he described the self as the still center, the axis around which the psyche organizes. When you stop scattering your energy outward, you begin to sit at the center of your own life, like the calm eye of a hurricane. Noise spins around you, but it doesn't touch you. Chaos demands your reaction, but you don't flinch. You stop being pulled into everyone else's storms. You become the storm they can't enter. This is the point where silence shifts from protection to dominion. True, silence speaks louder than words. True silence doesn't just withdraw from noise, it rewrites the energy in the room. Without asking, you command respect. Without demanding, you create distance from what drains you. Without forcing, you inspire curiosity, and sometimes even fear. Because true silence speaks the language of the soul, and the soul does not beg to be heard. When silence turns magnetic, you stop chasing life. Life begins to move around you, in. The next section will uncover the unseen battles your silence provokes, and why staying silent becomes even harder as your power grows. Silence protects you. Silence empowers you. But silence also makes you a target. When you no longer feed the systems around you, when you stop responding the way they expect, you threaten their illusions. And when illusions are threatened, they fight back. Carl Jung understood this hidden war. The battle isn't just out there. It's inside you, too. Why silence provokes resistance. Most people don't consciously realize it, but they depend on your reactions to validate their own existence. When you smile just to be polite, when you argue back when provoked, when you explain yourself to the unwilling, you confirm their belief that they have influence over you. Take that away, and something primal is triggered. Your silence is interpreted as judgment, as arrogance, as rejection. In truth, you are simply choosing yourself, but to the insecure, your withdrawal feels like an attack. The world will try to pull you back. The world is designed to pull you back into noise. Friends will question your distance. Family will poke at your silence. Strangers will seek to provoke reactions, any reaction, just to tether you back into the dance. At first, it will be subtle, a snide comment, a dismissive glance, a baited question designed to make you explain, defend, or collapse. But as you hold your ground, the pressure often intensifies. Jung warned of this. The closer you get to your authentic center, the more fiercely the false structures around you will resist, because your silence exposes what others desperately try to hide, their dependence on noise, approval, and external validation. The inner battle. Facing your own doubt, it's not just the outside world you must resist. Your greatest enemy is inside you. Doubt will whisper, maybe I'm being selfish. Maybe I should explain myself. Maybe I'm wrong for pulling away. These thoughts are not truths. They are echoes of old conditioning, the desperate fear of losing belonging. Jung taught that true individuation, the path to self-realization, demands the courage to endure this loneliness without flinching. You are not abandoning the world. You are refusing to abandon yourself. Silence requires more strength than noise. Ever did it's easy to scream back. It's easy to explain yourself 100 times. It's easy to beg for understanding, but it takes immense strength to stay silent, to trust that what needs to stay will stay, and what needs to fall away must fall. Your silence is a test, not of how well you can endure loneliness, but of how deeply you are willing to honor your own soul above all else. This is the battle few see, but it's the battle that changes everything. When you hold your silence through the storm, you don't just survive, you evolve. In the final section, we'll dive into the ultimate transformation, how your silent shift awakens a life of clarity, power, and freedom that no one can take away. The storm rages, voices call you back. Doubts press against the walls of your mind. But if you stay anchored in the silence you've chosen, something extraordinary begins to happen. You cross an invisible threshold, one few dare to reach. You realize the world never truly had a grip on you. It was your attention, your energy, that held you captive all along. And once you withdraw that energy fully, you awaken a power that cannot be touched, manipulated, or stolen. The power of the unshakable self, the collapse of false attachments at. First, it feels brutal. Things fall away. Not just people, but dreams, habits, beliefs you once held sacred. You watch as old connections wither, as obligations lose their meaning, as identities you wore like armor dissolve into dust. It feels like destruction. But Carl Jung taught that true transformation is always preceded by death. The death of who you thought you had to be. You were never meant to carry the world's expectations. You were never meant to sustain 100 false selves just to be loved. In silence, all illusions crumble. What remains is terrifying and beautiful. Only what is real survives. The emergence of inner authority. When you no longer seek external validation, you discover a source of authority far deeper than anything the world can offer. You begin to trust your own instincts, even when no one agrees with you. You begin to move with purpose, even when the path ahead is invisible. You begin to stand alone, not with bitterness, but with peace. Jung called this emergence the birth of the self, the true center of your being, no longer orbiting around others' demands or desires. This is the point where your silence becomes not just protective, but creative. You are no longer surviving the world, you are shaping it. How silence becomes creation. Most people see silence as passive, but silence is the womb of creation. From silence, ideas are born. From silence, visions arise. From silence, the authentic life begins to take shape. One that was never based on reaction, but on intention. You no longer need to chase anything. You realize that everything meant for you is already being pulled toward you, through unseen threads of energy and alignment. This is not mysticism. This is the natural law Jung hinted at. When you align with your authentic self, the world around you must adjust. You stop bending yourself into unnatural shapes to fit the world. The world around you bends instead. The loneliness of the true path, but make no mistake. The path remains lonely at times. Few understand silence. Even fewer can walk with someone who no longer plays by the rules of noise. You will feel the ache of separation. You will feel the sting of misunderstanding. You will grieve the versions of yourself you can no longer return to. But inside that grief, something else grows. Something solid. Something eternal. An inner companionship that no relationship can replicate. A peace that no achievement can replace. You become, as Jung described, a whole individual, a self not dependent on any external approval to exist. You finally meet the one person you were running from all along, yourself. Silence. As ultimate freedom, freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want. Freedom is the power to be who you are without permission or apology. Silence grants you this power. You no longer explain your path. You no longer ask for validation. You no longer betray your own soul to make others comfortable. You move through, life lighter, clearer, freer. Not because life becomes easier, but because you have stopped carrying what was never yours to begin with. You realize the world's grip was always a reflection of your own willingness to be gripped. Once you reclaim your energy, the prison walls vanish, and all that remains is vastness, possibility, truth. The silent shift the world. will feel even if you never raise your voice, even if you never explain yourself again, your energy will speak volumes. Those attuned to truth will recognize you instantly, not because you are loud, but because you are real. Those trapped in noise will feel uneasy around you, not because you judge them, but because you remind them of what they've abandoned. You become a living reminder that another way of existing is possible, not through force, not through argument, through being. This is the power Jung hinted at. The most transformative change doesn't happen through speeches or revolutions. It happens silently, one soul at a time, and once awakened, it cannot be reversed. What happens? After the shift, your relationships will change. Your goals will change. Your very definition of success will change. You will no longer seek to be everything for everyone. You will no longer confuse busyness with importance. You will no longer sell your soul for scraps of approval. Instead, your life will revolve around something quieter, but infinitely more potent: meaning, alignment, presence. And you will find, perhaps for the first time, that you no longer fear being alone, because you are no longer alone in the way the world once defined it. You are alone with yourself, and that self is vast enough to contain universes. Walking the silent path, there will still be temptations. Moments when noise seems easier. Moments when you ache to explain yourself, to be understood, to be seen. But each time you choose silence over noise, alignment over approval, truth over comfort, you strengthen the center within you. You become less shaken by passing storms, less tempted by passing rewards, and eventually the world's grip doesn't just weaken, it disappears. You are no longer playing their game. You are writing your own story, in silence, with power, with freedom. Closing. Unforgettable. One line. CTA. And when the world no longer holds your energy hostage, you finally remember who you were before the noise ever touched you.